Good afternoon, delegates. The combined financial statements are contained in your conference pack. It is the document with the blue band across the bottom cover. I hope you've had a little time to peruse the numbers since registration. And I will of course be on hand live to address any questions you may have after I finish this presentation. I'm pleased to report that despite a very uncertain and turbulent period in the financial services sector, IBOA remains in a strong financial position, even allowing for the fall in subscription income arising from the continuing decline in membership as a result of the unprecedented restructuring of Irish banking. I'm pleased I can report a pre-tax profit surplus for 2012 of €3.08 million, reducing to €2.89 million after tax, compared with 1.4, reducing to €1.1 million in 2011. This surplus is a result of the prudent management of our overheads, coupled with the gains that have arisen from changes in the way we manage and report our investment portfolios. But while the headline figures are positive, we cannot rest on our laurels because there are a number of challenges facing us which could have a significant impact on our finances. I will come back to that in more detail later. But first, I want to take you quickly behind the headlines to focus on one or two areas worthy of special consideration. As expected, our subs income has decreased by €171,000 to just over €5 million, or a 3% drop at the end of 2012. This is the result of a further decline in membership from just over 21,000 in 2011 to just over 19,000 at the end of 2012. This trend has continued in 2013 as the ongoing effects of the voluntary severance and early retirement schemes erode our membership levels and all of the major banks. The impact of this decline in membership income has been cushioned by a positive outlook for our investments. In a time of rapid change, it is particularly important that we steward these funds carefully. In the past year, we have changed our investment managers, implemented a full review of IBOA's investment strategy, and taken a number of significant steps to improve our investment approach. The Union's Audit and Investment Committee has carried out a root and branch review of our investment strategy, giving serious consideration to how the funds were to be used, the time frame over which they might be needed, and the degree of volatility in investment values we were prepared to accept. As a result, we have invested a portion of the assets in liquid investments so that if funds are required, they can be accessed without realising investment losses due to market conditions. We invested the remainder of the assets in a diversified portfolio of investment with a focus on delivering longer-term returns. As part of the process, investment returns will be monitored so that excess returns can be taken off the table during good times and used to bolster cash reserves if required. We reduced the costs involved in investments by 25% to ensure that we get value for money and that the benefit of our investment strategy is maximised. Finally, we implemented a process to monitor and evaluate the progress of our strategy on an ongoing basis. This allows us to make changes if and when they become necessary. While it has been a short period since we made the changes, and one in which investment markets have generally been positive, the IBOA strategy has strongly exceeded our target rate of a return of 6%, returning close to 12% since July 2012. The market value of our investment portfolio at the end of 2012, outside of retail deposits, increased to €26 million, compared to €19 million restated as fair value in December 2011. This reflects the transfer of retail cash deliberately held from turbulent markets and realised gains on disposal of investments. Investment income has increased as a result by €694,000, or 113% compared to the same period of 2011. In line with the new investment strategy and following a review of accounting practices in similar organisations, we changed our accounting policy during the year so that from the 1st of January 2012, our investments are now recorded at fair value rather than book value. The resulting gains realised in the accounts amounted to €1.21 million. Our administration and establishment costs show similar rates of increase between 2012 and 2011 of around 6%. While admin costs have generally been well controlled, we cannot escape the cost of higher spend on legal costs and the engagement of outside advisors to assist us in some of the highly complex negotiations we have engaged in, for example in pensions, as well as the additional cost of meeting the burden of regulatory compliance. Establishment costs have again been well contained. However, increased utility costs, as well as higher charges for repairs and maintenance, continue to make an impact. Furthermore, a decision was taken to renew our IT infrastructure to ensure the union is well equipped to discharge its responsibilities to our members in as an efficient and effective manner as possible. Since this renewal of virtually all of our IT assets took place within 12 months, this level of expenditure is unlikely to reoccur on an annual basis. But it represents an important strategic investment in the future from which IBOS should continue to benefit for a number of years to come. I hadn't intended to focus on our spending on sports and social. However, since a well-known Sunday newspaper in the Republic of Ireland sought to misconstrue this heading in our accounts as some kind of perk for IBOS staff, I believe I should take this opportunity to set the record straight. As you all know in this room, our sports and social activities are a rather unique benefit provided to our members. They remain extremely popular, and within our limited resources, we aim to publicise them widely. You will notice that the annual costs associated with sports and social activities increased by €27,000 in 2012 to almost €86,000. Far from being a cause for alarm, this increase represents the success of a deliberate publicity campaign using text messages as well as the usual circulars and ads in Spectrum to promote our family zoo days in Dublin, Belfast and Cork. Moving on now to staff pensions, our current liability in this regard has had a significant impact on our overall balance sheet. What would have been net assets of €45 million before taking this liability into account were reduced to €41.2 million in 2012. In 2011, the pensions liability cut our assets from €42 million to just over €40.7 million. Like virtually every other defined benefit pension scheme in the country, the IBOA scheme is running a deficit because of regulatory changes and new accounting requirements introduced in recent years. Financial Reporting Standard number 17 requires organisations to calculate the assets and liabilities of a defined pension scheme based on values and interest rates at the balance sheet date and to present the net surplus or deficit in the pension fund as an asset or liability on the balance sheet. The FRS 17 actuarial valuation for the IBOA scheme at the end of December 2012 showed a net pension deficit of €3.9 million compared to €1.53 million in 2011. This was primarily due to the movement in the core Eurozone government bond yields against which pensioner liabilities are measured, along with improved mortality expectations and investment returns which have not kept pace with actuarial assumptions. This growing problem has not been ignored by the Union. We have made significant and ongoing one-off cash contributions to the fund in recent years. However, despite these additional inputs on our part, we have come to the conclusion that the current contribution rate is simply unsustainable for the Union, especially in circumstances where our core income from membership subscriptions is in decline. While we have been buffered to some degree by the success of our investments this year, we are aware of the standard disclaimer, beloved by many of our employers, that the value of investments and the income from them may go down as well as up. So we cannot operate on the assumption that this year's cock of gold will keep replenishing our coffers into the future. So we've proposed a number of changes to the pension provision for IBOA staff with a view to increasing the sustainability of the scheme from the staff's perspective and the affordability of the scheme from the union's perspective. We provide pensions to our staff to reward long-serving employees and to ensure that they have a decent income in retirement. However, such a worthy aim comes at a cost. And again, I'm reminded of one of the watchwords of traditional prudential banking, which seems to have been lost in recent times, namely, never overpromise and underdeliver. If we make a pension promise to our staff now, which is unaffordable for the union in the long term, then we would be guilty of doing precisely that. So our priority in addressing the pensions issue with our staff is to ensure that we can afford to keep the promises we have made up to this point, and to only make new promises that we can afford. We have identified changes which will cause the least disruption possible to our staff, and which compare very favourably to the types of changes which have been implemented in the wider economy. The proposed changes will apply only to future service. All benefits which have accrued up to this point will be honoured, and current active members of the scheme will continue to accrue a defined benefit pension, though at a lower rate than previously. New joiners will be offered a defined contribution scheme with employer contributions broadly similar to the funding cost of the DB scheme. We are also looking at opportunities to arrive at mutually beneficial options for deferred pensioner members, which have further benefits in terms of reducing the long-term pension risk and ultimately cost to the IBOA. We are confident, colleagues, that these changes will put the scheme on the road to long-term sustainability, and we are happy that we've been able to strike a balance between the risk to the IBOA of offering a DB pension scheme and the goal of enabling our staff to save towards a comfortable retirement. The proposed changes have been communicated to our staff and their representatives, and we expect that they will be implemented within the next number of months. And so, in summary, colleagues, the turmoil in the financial services sector in Ireland and the UK is reflected clearly in the reduced surplus in the 2012 accounts. However, the establishment of specific investment principles and the decision to change our investment managers has already enhanced the wealth of the organisation by growing our investment portfolios while reducing risk. The Union's reserves are managed for the benefit of our members, and these funds are vital to ensure our ongoing independence and to support the broad range of activities undertaken by the Union on our members' behalf. Our combined balance sheet is currently valued at €41.2 million, which is equivalent to €2,168 for every member. In order to remain a financially strong, independent trade union, our finances must continue to be managed in a prudent way to ensure we can address the key issues in the rapidly changing financial sector. While this report has been broadly positive, surprisingly so, some might say, under the circumstances, there is no room for complacency. Further membership losses are likely as the restructure of the sector continues. That is another reason why we must invest in organising, apart from the more obvious need to maintain and, where possible, enhance our bargaining leverage. It is necessary for everyone to embrace this challenge. Our new organisers cannot do this on their own. The most effective recruiters of new members are existing members. The trend towards ever more complex corporate governance and regulation, as well as a hardening of employer attitudes in these recessionary times, has meant that we have had to rely in a greater extent on professional advisors, a trend that is likely to continue. However, we've endeavoured to position the Union to meet whatever the future throws at us by putting in place structures and processes to address two key areas of considerable financial risk: our investment and our staff pensions. During the last 2 years, we've developed a comprehensive strategy for the long haul with clear expectations around our objectives and built to withstand any possible setbacks, which we hope will be at most temporary in their nature. Of course, we have not eliminated those risks entirely. That would be impossible. But by tackling these issues now, we have ensured that the risks are proactively monitored and managed in the same way as any other business risk that we face. Delegates, it is my pleasure and it is a great honour to commend this report to you today.